Again, here's Senator John McCAIN. You just got back from Egypt. There are 7 Americans. There are 19 Americans on trial, 7 still remaining in Egypt in the embassy compound. Should we get them out of there at all costs, whether it's sort of almost sneaking in and getting them if we have to?
We can't sneak in, Greta, as you know, but we're going to have to do some more, bring some more pressures to bear. I'm sorry to say I've been in contact with our great ambassador, Ann Patterson, in Cairo. We've had conversations with Egyptian authorities. To sum it all up, I'm very concerned about the situation. And if there isn't some change, then I think Congress will have to consider the whole issue of aid. It just is unacceptable for American citizens who, by the way, were serving the worthiest of causes, trying to help the Egyptian people achieve democracy and all of the things that are associated with it, constitution, voting rights, formation of parties, all those things that go into making a democracy. That's what they were doing. And unfortunately, the remains of the Mubarak regime, and particularly a woman who was a total Mubarak person, have chosen in a populist move to attack these organizations. And by the way, the Muslim Brotherhood has praised these NGOs and the work that they do. I think you might find that interesting.
All right. Well, $1.3 billion is the amount of aid that we've got sitting out there for Egypt that some have threatened they're not going to get. But you say that we can't go in and get them, we can't sneak them out. We've done a lot of sort of sneaky things. We sneaked in and got Osama bin Laden. I mean, there are things that can be done. And we've got 7 Americans who, on April 26th, may be going to trial facing 6 years. And we've got a government that has not listened to you or Secretary of State Clinton, and they want to put those Americans on trial.
Well, first of all, they're in the embassy, so they are safe. Second of all, they're not going to go on trial. We will not release them to go appear in a cage somewhere. They had proposed that earlier. I think we can work our way through this with the Egyptian authorities. Look, they are our friends. And by the way, this aid is tied to the Israeli peace agreement. We want democracy to take hold in Egypt. We want a stable relationship between ourselves and Egypt, and between Egypt and Israel. So I'm confident we can work our way through this, but it may take some more pressure. And unfortunately, if it goes the other way, Greta, you could see all kinds of consequences and things could happen in Egypt, which is the heart of the Arab world. And obviously, we'd like to tamp this down rather than have it get much worse.
Last week, the burning of the Korans has sparked protests. It's continuing escalated problems in Afghanistan. President Obama writing a letter to President Karzai apologizing, which has enraged many. The situation in Afghanistan, you just were there, it appears getting worse, deteriorating. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And by the way, this Koran, as I understand it, these Korans were used by the inmates in the prison to send messages to each other. So they were in some ways, if that's true, they were desecrating the Koran by writing in the pages of the Koran. This is a very serious situation. Obviously, our prayers go out to those who were killed, particularly the lieutenant colonel and the major that were shot in the head. This is also we must express our disappointment in Karzai for not taking a stronger stand, especially initially, against these demonstrations that are going on. Look, I'll be honest with you, this situation, if not brought under control, can harm a lot of our plans. But it also, I got to tell you, Karzai and a lot in the Afghanistan and in Pakistan, in the region, believe the United States is leaving. And when they believe the United States is leaving, they have to make accommodation because they have to stay in the neighborhood. So part of Karzai's rhetoric is associated with his uncertainty about how long the United States and our allies will be there, because the president keeps announcing withdrawals over the recommendations, against the recommendations of his military advisors. So there's more to this than just this particular incident. Is a lack of confidence of the countries in the region that the United States has a staying power to get this thing done or stabilize the point where we can leave. And if that happens, then there will be well, Afghanistan will return to being a cockpit of different competing interests in different nations in the region.
Should we be negotiating or discussing peace with the Taliban? Do you in any way think the Taliban is going to change its stripes and Afghanistan is going to be something different from what it was when we went in?
I'd be glad to talk to anybody at any time, but you must be realistic. If recently a former high-ranking member of the Bush administration was in a meeting with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and he said, "What do you think the chances of peace with the Taliban are?" He just laughed. He said, "Why should they? You're leaving." This cockamamie idea of releasing 5 high-ranking Taliban from Guantanamo as a, quote, confidence-building measure is really a sign of the desperation that this administration has to try to get something going. I'm glad to talk to them, but I think the chances are, when they know that we are leaving, are minimal for success.
All right, you use the term desperation. Is the President Obama dead wrong in the direction and the way we're handling Afghanistan right now?
Well, he announced withdrawals from Afghanistan over the recommendations of the military leaders that he appointed, just as he bailed out of Iraq without us having troops there, which we could have done. Now Iraq is unraveling, and he did that, as I said, over the strong objections of the military that he appointed, and I'm afraid that it sent the signal to the region: the United States is leaving. And that was not, in my view, the correct way to go. It should have been dictated by facts on the ground. There's also 2 major problems that remain and are still with us, and they aren't the president's fault that much. One of them is corruption in the Karzai government, and the other is sanctuary in Pakistan for the Haqqani network and other terrorist organizations. Serious impediment to achieving final success in Afghanistan.
Looking where we are right now, have we had, quote, success in Iraq and success in Afghanistan, if today is our date of reckoning, of determining success? In the words of General McCAIN, one of the architects of the surge in Iraq, we won the peace and we're losing the war. We should have had and could have had a residual force of some 20,000. The president never wanted that. He said he campaigned on getting out of Iraq. We're out of Iraq. The situation there is unraveling tragically. In the case of Afghanistan, I think if he had listened to our advisors and kept the troops there for another fighting season, the situation would have been much more stable, and perhaps Karzai might have been a little more reliable than he's displaying today. It all is based on perception, and victories are won on the battlefield, and they're also won psychologically in war. And by the president's continuous pronouncements that we are leaving, it hindered our ability to achieve victory in Afghanistan enormously. Can we trust Karzai? I think you can understand that Karzai is a person who's not sure where we're going to be a year from now. He's a person who is very concerned about his own safety, personal as well as political future. And I think he is acting in ways that he thinks are in his best interests. I strongly disagree with his insistence on ending night raids and discharging the inmates from a prison there in Afghanistan. I strongly disagree, but I also understand in some ways why he's doing it. But I think by him insisting on these things, he is hurting not only his future, but that of the chances of the people of Afghanistan to have a safe and secure future. Senator, thank you. I really believe. Well, go ahead, sir. Okay. Nothing. I really believe that if Afghanistan reverts to a chaotic situation, you will see the return of the Taliban and al-Qaeda to Afghanistan, which would then pose a threat to the United States national security. Senator, thank you. Nice to talk to you, and all eyes tomorrow on your state to see what happens. That, of course, in Michigan. Nice to see you, sir. Thank you.